The Orange did an excellent job holding their composure and pulling out a W as Wake Forest cut a 14-point lead down to 2 in a late rally. We'll give you this game's fan feedback, and NC State travels north to the Dome Wednesday, February 14th at 9 o'clock. Let's go.
Make some noise, Orange fans. It's time for the Cuse Nation podcast with Sean and Joe. Give us a like on Facebook at facebook.com/Cuse Nation podcast.
All right, what's up, Cuse Nation? Thanks for tuning in to episode 58 of the Cuse Nation podcast with Sean and Joe. If you could please subscribe to whatever platform you listen on, that'll really help us out, and we'll be in your library as soon as an episode is published. Look, we pride ourselves on giving you the most efficient, current, and relative content possible. If you like it, please share this show with your friends and family. All right, Syracuse beats Wake Forest in the Dome in front of 24,018 fans, 78-70. Syracuse shot 45% from the floor, 50% from behind the arc, and a bleak 66% at the free throw line. Tyus Battle, of course, led the team in scoring with 34 points. Our three big men played all 40 minutes of the game. They lead the ACC 1-2-3 in minutes played. That would be O'Shea Brissett, Frank Howard, and Tyus Battle. O'Shea Brissett had another double-double, 8 for 10 from the line, 10 rebounds, and 15 points. Frank Howard, he was a little all over the place, although he did have 9 assists, which is excellent. He went 4 for 10 from the line, and that was just coming down the stretch. He missed a couple crucial ones that could have put the game away a little bit earlier than we had. So a notable, Braden Bayer played 4 minutes, grabbed 2 defensive rebounds, didn't turn the ball over. Excellent. I'm happy with that. He'll get his minutes as time comes. The totals on the free throws was 26 for 39, by the way. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Here's some fun facts for you. Syracuse finished with 16-6 and 8 turnovers. Combined with the Louisville game, they had 9 assists and 8 turnovers there. It was the first time Syracuse had more assists than turnovers in consecutive games this season. Syracuse has a 6-1 lead in the series on Wake Forest, including 3-0 at the Dome. And remember, that one loss was earlier this season in a game where Tyus Battle just wasn't himself. At 17-8, Syracuse has now once again clinched a winning season for 49 straight years. Tyus Battle's 34 points was the most he scored in regulation. We mentioned that. A career-high 37 points came against Florida State in overtime. Also, Battle's last 2 games from the free throw line, 22 of 24 in past 2 games of Louisville and Wake Forest. That is 91.6%. And finally, the Orange's RPI after Wake Forest is 39, and the strength of schedule is at a 29, so we're still in good shape there. All right, Joe, give me your game overview. I want your grade for the game, and I also want your player of the game. Go.
Yeah, Sean, this was a great first half. Up until that three-pointer right before the end of first half, I thought it was one of our better first halves played this year, especially with us, again, like we said, being usually a second-half team. Getting to the line 39 times is just ridiculous. We won every stat that we always talk about as far as offensive rebounds and turnovers and offensive and free throws. So overall, again, just being able to play the defense that we play and then winning those stats, and Tyus Battle playing the way that he played, you could tell he came out and he definitely wanted to play a little bit better this time than the first time around against Wake Forest, and he definitely did. So other than that crazy onslaught of threes in the second half, I think like 6 in a row, and one of them Wilbekin got fouled and it was a 4-point play.
Yeah,
I mean, we were up 14 before that, so we had it comfortable, and it was looking like one of those games in the ACC where we might be able to pull away and actually, win it comfortably and not have to go the cardiac Cuse route. But that was not to be.
No, never is, right?
So, yeah. So
it's not in the cards.
That's pretty much my overview. As far as grade goes, probably give them an A- just because of that little spurt that they get in. Again, I just maybe they could have got on some shooters. Some of their offense, they could have done a little bit better with offense and maybe made a little bit more free throws. I think missing the free throws down the end there, then stretch, definitely made it close. And allowing that kind of point outburst and missing those type of free throws at the end of games can come back to haunt you, especially when it comes close to tournament time. So that's something that we're definitely going to want to clean up. But I'd give it an A-, and obviously, the player of the game was Tyus Battle. So,
yeah, I'm with you, Joe. Normally, I like to look for kind of a diamond in the rough for my player of the game. Someone who's maybe stepped it up that usually isn't in the limelight. That's kind of took the team when maybe Tyus was a little slower than usual. But you can't ignore Tyus's day.
No.
Just a phenomenal day. As Frank Howard said, when he plays like that, you just feed him the ball. You just feed him the ball and get out of his way.
Efficient.
Yeah, he was just great. 11 for 13. I mentioned he's shooting 91.6% the past 2 games from the free throw line. 11-11 against Louisville. He's on fire, and he's getting on fire at the right time of the year. And
he shot 10 of 18. Too,
10 of 18 and 3 for 4 from behind the arc. So, in a career high season regulation, 34 points. So it can't be ignored. Player of the game for sure.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, the onslaught of threes. The first 3 that was hit from 6 foot in front of the half court line. That was the only one they hit the whole first half. They went 1 for 10, and that was the one. So they did an excellent job of stopping them. Until Wilbekin came in and just, gosh, man. Between him
and this is his first game back for a while. He was out. He had been injured.
Yeah, and did he make his presence known without a doubt. They did hit 6 in a row. Joe, as you mentioned, Coach says he doesn't think that's ever happened to them in the Dome. Despite that, I mentioned them holding their composure. They didn't panic. They didn't throw up wild shots. They kind of just they were mature about it. They handled it. You've got Frank Howard, who's normally a pretty consistent free throw shooter, go 4 for 10, and a couple of those were down the stretch. Pascal, he missed the front end of a 1-and-1, which was critical. He went 1 for 4 from the line. He's been on point with his free throws. So
he's been better.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with that. But with all that said, a good game. They almost let it slip. Kind of, the cardiac use, like you mentioned, and it's kind of like what we're gonna, that's us this year for sure. And it was a home game. I give them a B- or a B+, because it was a home game. We needed to hit those free throws at crucial times, and it didn't happen. That game could have been put away a little bit earlier, and they shot 66%. Syracuse normally shoots, their season average is 77.8% through the first 11 ACC games. So, that's pretty good, and shooting 66 is just a kind of a disappointment, but, stuff like that's going to happen. So, a B+ from me, almost letting the lead slip and missing some crucial free throws at the end of the game. Plus, you're at home, I can't give you too much credit. So, a B+, and my player of the game, Tyus Battle, can't be ignored. He was on fire. It was excellent. He did just an excellent performance.
Yeah, it was a must win, and he stepped up, and our better players they made plays at the end of the game. You know, and the fact that we had bad free throws percentage. Just the sheer fact that we took 39 free throws. I
know it.
We might not have had a good percentage, but there was a healthy percent of our points came from the free throw line. So
absolutely. And you mentioned that the last time we shot that many free throws was 42 in an 89-74 win over Fordham. That was November 12th, 2013. So this is a team that needs to get to the line. They're really going to need to step it up. When we start playing, we got NC State. They're going to need to get to the line. You got Miami, North Carolina, and Duke all in a row. Those are our next 4 games. Yeah. So, and then you got Boston College, Clemson to wrap up the year. So those next 4 games are going to be crucial to get to the line, and they've got to make. They're not going to be able to win games like this in that fashion, missing free throws like that going down the stretch, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, they most likely won't be up 14 in the second half, and they won't be able to survive an onslaught like that. So
absolutely.
Although rare, both of them really, us up 14 and that many threes getting hit against us. So it'll be a close game, and we'll just see what happens. So
we'll see what happens.
One game at a time.
Yeah, that's right. One more thing I wanted to hit up about this game: an always contentious post-game press conference with Jim Boeheim. Sometimes just.
It was a good one.
It was great, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Sometimes I cringe, but sometimes I'm just like, how he nails it. And these people they probably just like want to crawl in a hole. You know, God. They want to go find a termite mound and get in that thing as soon as possible because he makes them feel so stupid for asking some basic, simple questions. But he was asked about Moyer, and this is what he had to say about Moyer sitting out.
Yeah, he practiced the last 2 days and came in today and said he was too sore, so I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. He practiced, says his ankle hurts. He looked fine in practice the last 2 days. He helped us against Louisville. He can't jump really off one leg, but I had bad ankles and you go jump off two. But his father came in and told him not to play, and I don't play somebody when they don't want to play.
And he went on to say that, you know, he mentioned it a little bit there about playing for Louisville. He did help us against Louisville. He wasn't 100%. Still, he pitched in and helped the team effort, and they got out of Louisville with a win. So here's the thing. If Jim Boeheim doesn't want to answer a question, to my point how I started bringing this up in the first place, if he doesn't want to answer a question, he's just going to tell you. And he's going to make you feel like an idiot. Well, not only did he answer the question, he actually elaborated on it. And you know, Joe, when he does that, he's irritated. So, Joe, what do we read into the comments on Matthew Moyer, in your opinion?
Well, obviously a frustrated coach. When you only have 6 scholarship players available, and he could be a 7th, anybody's can help. So, like you said. But after the audio that you had played, he had talked about, you know, he's only 60%. Well, that helped us with Louisville. Well, you know, when you're in this position, any type of percentage is going to help you. And so he was probably frustrated by that. And he called his father out. So that's probably the truth. And it's probably just a father looking out for his son because Matthew Moyer, he had an injury last year, which forced him to basically redshirt early. Not to say that he wouldn't have anyway, but didn't really even give him the chance to compete in the preseason. So just it's a father looking out for his son because of this history and the fact that he still has a future and everything. So you can't really harp on it like that. But at the end of the day, you need as many bodies as you can. So obviously Jim Boeheim's a little upset about that. Now, reading into it too much, usually stuff like this, after it's talked about, is handled internally. I saw today that Matthew Moyer did practice today. So, and he practiced, you know, like he said before, a couple of days before the game, too. So, let's just see what happens with that. But obviously, you know, Boeheim's not going to be too happy with him. And fortunately for him, or maybe unfortunately for Jim Boeheim, there's just not enough people. I mean, if he's available to play, there's not really a doghouse to put him in because we only have 6 available players. So if he's available to play, then Boeheim's going to play him. But I'll guarantee he's probably going to ride his butt the whole season. And I'd stay tuned as far as the offseason to see if that carries over in next year because he's already looking at a situation with our recruits coming in where he's probably not going to get too much playing time as it is. So with that fact, coupled with what's going on here, this is probably going to hurt the relationship with him and the coaching staff. So, again, we'll see. But I guess I'm looking at it as a nothing to see here because if he's healthy, he's going to play just because of the lack of depth.
Yeah, we'll have to just wait and see what happens there. Joe, this game, a much-needed a needed win because basically it keeps our head above water. We couldn't lose it. Not a great win. It's not going to bolster us in any way, but it's definitely going to keep a potential blemish off of the record. So, Joe, I'm going to give it to you for the final thoughts on the Wake Forest game. What do you think?
I just like you said, it was a must-win game. We lose that game, and it'd be very difficult to make the tournament. I think personally, just because I do think there are some losses coming down. I'm realistic enough of a fan to know that we're not going to win the next 6 games. It's just too much talent and we just obviously have our faults that we know about that just we're not consistent enough to be able to beat every team. So we just got to win the right ones, and this one was definitely one of the ones we needed to win. And 17-8, we're still right there.
That's right.
Probably still not in with Joe Lenardi and his bracketology, but I think that we're sitting pretty with 6 games to bolster our resume pretty good. There's not really too many bad games left. I don't think there is really a bad one. So
no, probably not. I mean, Boston College would be the worst one, but that's
no, I still think every game is a quadrant 2 game or higher.
Yeah.
So
all right, excellent. Wake Forest is history. It's in the mirror. Moving on. All right, time for some fan feedback. This is going to be broke up in 2 segments, kind of like we did last time, but this one's going to be post Wake Forest, and then there was a discussion that we wanted to share on the air, and Joe's thoughts, because it's kind of a common theme that we see once in a while. Okay. Bob says, Boeheim's coat had a better chance of going in the hoop than Howard's free throws. Bob, touche, Bob. Touche. It's a little harsh, but okay, all right. Bruce follows up with need to make free throws, fellas. Yeah, we talked about it. Tim says every game is huge here on out. A W is a W. I'll take it. Wait, he must listen. He must listen to Joe.
Echo.
Yeah, exactly. Lisa says go Orange. Hey, all right, Lisa. I agree.
Thanks Lisa.
David, good win. Just wish they would have done better from the free throw line. I saw a ton of those. So, it is what it is.
It's one game, guys.
It's one game. If they did it
every game, if they had an awful overall free throw percentage, then I'd give it to you. But it's one game. We got the W. Give them a break.
It is. But I agree. I harp on them. Don't give them a break. What are you talking about?
No, give them a break.
Oh, come on. They're semi-pros. Winning this game, Michael says, winning this game after Wake Forest basically played horse during the entire second half was fortunate to win. Yeah, I mean, I hear you. They kind of went tit for tat there. They were hitting 3s, though. We were hitting 2s. So, that's essentially
let's not act like all those are easy shots either.
Oh, I know. Some of those were just undefendable, and you can't blame certain people. But Coach found someone to yell at.
Yep, always does.
Darren says, "Go Syracuse Orangemen." Whoa.
Well, pump the brakes, buddy.
That's not inclusive enough. We couldn't just go ahead and call the women's team the Orange Women and make it simple like that. But hey, I'm kind of with Darren on that. I grew up with the Orange Men.
1995 called.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, the Orange Men were great. I still have an Orange Men sticker. I didn't peel it off yet. Some memories. All right.
Of course not.
So, we had a little discussion on the page. It was on a post I had put up showing exactly where Syracuse was on the help me out here, on the quadrants, within the quadrants.
Yeah.
So,
well, first I was glad that it was a
yes, it was cordial.
Yes.
It was cordial. We had some disagreements between a couple followers and listeners to the show, and, that's how we want it. We love disagreement, and the reason we brought this segment in is because my mom always says, and she listens to the show, and she says, you and Joe agree too much. I'm like, I know. So we brought some stuff in to create some conversation. Don't. Shut up.
See, that was us disagreeing.
Brandon B, who I got to give a shout out to Brandon B. He's always on top of the Facebook stuff, and we appreciate that. So shout out to him. He said, I don't know, a win is a win. Plus, however, if Louisville continues their slide back, I don't know if it's going to be a big win or just a big win. Nevertheless, it's a W, and that's what we needed. Brandon is exactly right. I'm not too worried about Louisville sliding back, Joe. This isn't. That's not really something I worry about. I think that they'll recover okay, and it's good to be, a little pessimistic about it. You don't want to get too hyped up, right? We always talk about that, getting too hyped up over big wins.
Right. Well, they whooped up on Pittsburgh yesterday, so.
Yes, they sure did. Mark C. comes in. He says they have no chance of getting the tourney. Stop dreaming. It ain't happening. 10th in the ACC and only one game away from 13th. Forget it. Boy, Mark.
Yeah, he swooped in with that big old negative bomb.
He did. And then Brandon replies back. He was basically saying that, he knows they're not in right now, but, to be honest, we still have a chance. And he's just keeping optimism alive. And that's exactly what you and I do, Joe. You just got to be realistic about it. You can't be overly happy or totally negative like Mark. So then Joe jumped in. And, Joe, you do know there's 7 games left in the ACC tournament to play yet, right? Still a long way to go. So they had a little bit of that back and forth. And then there was a comment. Let me scroll down here a little bit.
Yep, this is the comment that we get from a lot of old fans all the time. Living in the past like Darren and the Orangemen.
All right, Mark says they need bigger wins than Louisville. Move to the ACC has ruined SU hoops. No rivals at all anymore. Team and league are boring compared to the Big East days. No one in the ACC gives an S about Syracuse as a rival. Just no zip to orange hoops anymore. I could not disagree more with just about everything he said. It feels to me, Joe, first of all, ACC basketball, for me, it's the best. It is the elite of the elite. It's the best. I know there's other teams out there like Villanova. You got your Kansas, you got your Kentucky, but we're talking about some of the best teams in college football, basketball, and also it feels like to me every game is a rivalry game. There's not like one specific game, but they are all tough, hard-fought games, and the fans are big time into them, Joe. So this went on for a while, Joe, back and forth. What is your point? I could go through and read your comments, but you could sum it up better than me reading your comments.
Yeah, well, my point is that there's a lot of fans out there, especially old school fans, that were, don't get me wrong, I love the way that the Big East was formed, the whole story, how dominant they got players, and for a while there, it was what conference is better, the Big East or the ACC, Big East or the ACC. But as technology went and streaming, and football became a big thing, being able to stream every game, watch every game, and basically the money in football for colleges is just huge. And unfortunately, a lot of the Big East basketball teams don't have football teams, or at least Division I football teams. Therefore, they don't really make that type of money. So times changed, and there was teams that had to get out, and some teams like Boston College, Virginia Tech, Miami, they saw the writing on the wall early. But teams had to get out and get to the Power 5 conferences with the football, or else they would have got gobbled up and stuck in some bad conference, just like everyone just thinks that we could just go back to the Big East. Like, no team in Big East basketball has a Division I football team, and there's a reason for that. So if we would have never left the Big East, then we would have been stuck in the AAC, or the glorified Conference USA.
It'd be horrible.
We'd be playing against Middle Tennessee State and stuck in purgatory, basically, with UConn, South Florida's, and the Cincinnati's of the world, who's on all their programs, minus Cincinnati basketball, has pretty much fallen. In
hindsight, being 2020, it's easy to sit here and claim that the Big East, but the Big East is something and was something, and it was. The Big East was great. Yeah. I grew up watching the Big East. I was devastated when they moved to the ACC, but they didn't just do it for no reason.
No, the money.
You
have to follow the money.
Yeah,
they would have got swallowed up in what was going on with UConn and all those other teams right now. I'm telling you.
And we would be right now, if we were stuck in one of those conferences, you'd be looking at the ACC going, man, wish we would have made that move.
Yep.
So it's easy. You could play both sides of that one, no matter what the situation is. But the ACC move, it took me about 10 minutes. To embrace it, and I hope the ACC just becomes as legendary as it is in my head, because
Well, that's what I mean. Don't get me wrong. All those people that grew up with the Big East and the old Big East, you're going to miss the St. John's and the Georgetowns and the UConn, those kind of rivalries and stuff. But
we played preseason Georgetown every year.
But we still play, exactly. We have so many non-conference games.
Yeah.
If we wanted to make up those rivalries, and we can make it happen. So I'm not too worried about it. Again, it's all about the money, and it's for the well-being of the team and the sports program and the university as a whole. They made the right move.
Yeah, without a doubt.
End of story.
Yeah. All right. That's your fan feedback for the week. Be like Andrew C., Stephanie H., Wames J., Matt Mem, Jeffrey A. Be like all those guys. Go to facebook.com/Cuse Nation podcast. Thumb us up there. That's it. All right, Joe. Valentine's Day is coming up, you know. You know what that means. You know what that means. NC State comes to the Dome February 14th, this Wednesday. A late one, 9 o'clock. Joe, what do we expect?
Very game NC State team coming in, without a doubt.
Yeah.
So they're 16-9, 6-6 in the conference. We're 17-8, 6-6 in the conference. So right now we're both tied for the 8th spot in the ACC. They got a new coach, Kevin Keats, from UNC Wilmington, and he's got these guys playing a different type of basketball. They shoot the threes, they play fast, and they've beaten some really, really good teams this year. I think they've beaten Duke and they've beaten North Carolina. So
they beat one of those at home. They beat North Carolina at home. At North Carolina, I'm saying.
No, I don't think. Oh yeah, yep, you're right. Yeah. They did. Yes, they did. So, and just looking at their team. You're talking they've had 7 players that have started more than 11 games. So he's tinkered with the lineup, not afraid to change that up. And they go deep. I mean, they have 7-8 guys that average almost 15 minutes a game. So their big guy, Omer Yurtseven, is really the guy that you got to watch out for as far as the threat down low. They got a couple guys, Alaric Freeman and Leonard Freeman, who are pretty decent down low too, but Torrin Dorn, Braxton Beverly, Markel Johnson, guards, they can all hit some threes. And again, like I said, they come deep, they play fast, and
they're going to want to wear you out.
They're going to try to, and they're going to put up some threes, and they're going to get it down to Yurtseven down low. I mean, he's only a sophomore. He's going to most likely be in the NBA at some point. Maybe not after this year, but he's a great player nonetheless. So. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they react to our 2-3 zone, just because, again, it's just whenever you got a new team or a new system that's not used to seeing this type of zone, then sometimes it's just very, very difficult for them to get used to it. So, again, I think this is one of those games where home game, we got to just jump on them and get an early lead and hope that we can just hold on as far as that goes. So. Right now, Ken Palm's got us at 46, got NC State at 59, and our RPIs are real, real close. So, it's a close matchup. There's a reason why we're only one game away, and we're both tied for ACC. So, it'll be interesting. And again, I'm sure another cardiac game. So
yeah, NC State's just dangerous. It's like, It's just like I've watched them play so many times this year, and they're just so, they're a skilled team. They're a skilled team, and they're well coached, and we just got to, like you said, Joe, we don't know how they're going to really react to the zone, and that's always the defining thing. Well, besides this year with the shooting, but that how they handle the defense, there's no doubt that we can slow them down, and that. It could take them a while to adjust off of that because, like you mentioned, they like to run up and down the court, and we'll just have to see. So
yeah, well, looking at it, NC State's got a 72 RPI, so it is going to be a quadrant 2 game because we're home, and it comes down to the Yurtseven can make the plays. He can make the plays down low. He can step out and shoot threes, and he can shoot that little. Free throw jumper. So it's going to be interesting to see how they use him and how they use him to pass the ball out to some 3-point guys that are ready for the ball. Just a lot of it's going to come down to, like our stats, like we always talk about, the turnovers, free throws, and offensive rebounds. But also a lot of it's just going to come down to how many threes that they hit. Because, again, like the other day, we saw even playing decent defense, some teams can come in and get hot. And, again, we know that a lot of teams, they like to shoot the three because we're in the 2-3 zone, and that's what it gives them. So,
does Matthew Moyer play?
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say yes.
Okay, I would agree. I think Coach made his point, and that'll help a player make a decision too.
Well, I think he's going to play the least amount of minutes that Boeheim wants him to play.
Yeah, true.
Or can afford him to play. Boeheim's going to use him
as he needs him, if he needs him. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go. That's episode 58 in the books. Joe, any final thoughts? Is that it? We covered everything?
No, sir.
Okay, cool. Go. What? You were going to talk?
No,
you were going to talk?
I was going to say that we had everything. So.
Okay. All right. I'm just making sure. All right.
All set.
Episode 58 in the books. If you could please share it. Get on Facebook. Share the show with your friends and family, and be greatly appreciated. So that's it. We will see you after the NC State game. Hopefully we try to pump these out within 24 hours of the games. So we'll just have to see if we can get on Thursday evening to pump another episode out for NC State postgame. We will do that. Until then, we'll talk to you later.
Peace.
You just heard the Cuse Nation podcast with Sean and Joe.